Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to a live stream. Big up to everyone that is locked in. Make sure you smash the like, subscribe if you're new around here. All of that good stuff, guys. Packed show as always. We've got plenty of updates from David Ornstein on Chelsea's search for a winger, Chelsea's defensive targets, Chelsea's striker targets, the feeling around Enzo Maresca, at the club. We've got a packed show, guys, a packed show and loads of interesting stuff to go through. So make sure you are getting involved in the chat. Make sure you're getting your thoughts and opinions in there, guys. And as always, subscribe, smash the like button. You lot know exactly what to do. Let's say hello to a few people and then we'll get this show on the road. Chelsea are wrong. Maresca is not the one. They will learn the hard way. Well, time will tell. Let's find out. I lost faith with Maresca playing players out of position in football is so boring. Fair enough. Kim Min-Jae because he's from Korea. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Oh, I wouldn't say it was mid. I just look. I don't think it's a. I don't think it's a dreadful. It would be a dreadful signing, by the way. I don't think that at all. Club is finished. No ambition from manager or owners. Maresca has lost the fans and probably a large chunk of the dressing room. If Reece James's comments are anything to go by, fair enough. Fair enough. I can understand why people might think that. I can absolutely understand why people might think that. But let's start with the centre back stuff then, because there are reports coming out that Chelsea have made contact with the management of Kim. But before we get onto that, guys, we've had David Ornstein listing defensive targets. Now, he's been speaking on American TV over on NBC. Chelsea, David Ornstein on Chelsea's defence. They've got to look at their defence. There's a number of options like Huijsen, Murillo, Branthwaite, Hato, Gurhi. But I think that will be dependent on exits. Now, I don't mind. Now, obviously, Kim Min-Jae's not mentioned here. But it's been mentioned in Sky Germany that Chelsea and Newcastle are interested. Obviously, Ornstein's not mentioned Kim. It doesn't mean that it's not that Kim Min-Jae stuff is not true. It just Ornstein's not mentioned his name there. Now, I look at these defensive targets, right? This list of names. I don't mind that. I don't mind it. You know, I don't mind it. Dean Huijsen is a young talent. You know, I like Dean Huijsen, but if it's the only centre-back we sign, I'd be a bit worried because we need someone with experience and someone who can lead the back line, not a 20-year-old with one season in the Premier League. That would be my concern there. Murillo, we've looked at him before. You know, top defender, having a very good season at Forest. Did sign a new contract. Will probably stay if Forest get Champions League football. He's going to cost a premium. Branthwaite, you know, there was big interest from Man United last summer. I've not really seen much of Branthwaite this season. It very much feels like kind of the hype surrounding Jared Branthwaite has died down. You know, there doesn't really seem to be as much talk about him. Doesn't mean that he's shit, by the way. Doesn't mean that he's shit. It's just maybe not quite happened for him this season. And there's nowhere near as much conversation around Branthwaite as there has been last summer and in previous seasons. That much is true. And then you look at Jarell Hato at Ajax. He's more of a left back, centre back hybrid. Again, he's having a good season. They're going to win. They're going to win the Dutch league. But again, they're taking a big gamble there. And then Mark Gurhi is probably the one that you look at and you think, yeah, out of all those names, he's the most realistic one, probably. And he's the one that we could probably do with the most in terms of leadership, in terms of he knows the club, in terms of he knows the Premier League, in terms of he's not going to cost an absolute fortune. He'll have a year left on his contract. And these are all things that are gonna you know, be helpful for us. And he's the one really that ticks the leadership box and the experience box out of all those defenders. You know, he's the one that probably ticks the most boxes. You know, he's probably the one that that's got the most, that ticks the most boxes. No, look, perhaps not. But there's a reason. There must be a reason why Chelsea have been named as a club that have looked at Kim. There must be a reason. Look, I think we'll end up with one of these people. I don't think it's ridiculous or beyond the realms of possibility to think that Chelsea won't end up with one of the names on that list. I think there's a very good chance that we do end up with a Gurhey or a Branthwaite. I think there's a very good chance we do. I don't think that's unrealistic, and I don't think that's being deluded or living in a fantasy world. I do genuinely believe that we have got a very good chance of ending up with one of those two players. Now, you can look at those centre-backs. They did want a lot of money, but he's obviously not been as good, and it'll be a year less on the contract as well. Yes, big up, big up. Murillo's a good defender. Look, I like Murillo. There's no way Murillo comes to Chelsea this summer. No chance. And if Forest have got Champions League football, he'll be staying put for sure. And it would take a ridiculous amount of money to get Murillo out of Forest. It would cost a ridiculous amount of money. You know? And people will say, oh, none of those names are really needle movers. And I hear that to a degree. None of those names are particularly needle movers as such. But look at the centre-back market, right? Look at the centre-backs out there in world football. What centre-backs are actual needle movers that Chelsea could realistically get? People will say Bastoni, and Bastoni is absolutely a needle mover. But there's no chance that Chelsea are signing Bastoni. There's no chance. So when you look at it, I don't hate these centre-back targets. I don't hate the centre-back targets at all. And they're not bad. I don't think it's that those defensive targets are bad. They're all good centre-backs in their own right. They're all good centre-backs in their own right. But bro, I think we're at the point though where we don't need to be strengthening the squad. We need to be improving the first 11. We don't need more squad players. We need to sign players for the first 11 so that a number of players in the first 11 then become our squad players. That's what we need to be doing right now. We need to be making sure that we are signing players to improve the first 11. No more squad players. We've signed enough squad players, enough developmental players. We need to sign players to go straight into that first team and improve the first team. No more squad players. We've got enough squad players. Look, it still be attractive for a lot of players depending on the club that they come from. And with the sort of teams that we're shopping at, going to Chelsea and the Premier League would be a significant upgrade for them. That's just facts. It would be a significant upgrade for them. I like these defensive targets. I do. I really do. I don't think there's an issue with those defensive targets. Now, out of those names, bro, first port of call is not a goalkeeper. The first port of call is 100% a striker. I'm happy to stick Petrovic in goal next season, but get me a top-class centre-forward, get me a top-class centre-back, and get me a winger. Yeah, those for me are more important than the goalkeeper. More important than the goalkeeper. Would we be, let's put it this way. Would we be in a better position this season with a better goalkeeper or a better striker? The answer is we'd be in a better position with a better striker. The striker is the number one priority. Number one priority. For me, look, if people disagree, that's cool. No problem if people disagree. No problem whatsoever. But for me, the number one priority is a striker. Number one. I don't see how anyone can think that a striker is not the main priority this summer. That is the number one position that we should be signing him. Number one position. And look, I'd stick Petrovic back in goal, and you deal with the goalkeeping situation next the following summer. But I don't think these defensive targets are bad. You know, Branthwaite is a good player. He's 22 years of age. He's been around for a number of seasons. And are these centre backs better than what we've got? And you have to say the majority of them are better than the majority of centre backs that we currently have at the club. You know, I think these centre backs are better than a number of centre backs we have. Huijsen and Murillo, they're both better than Huijsen and Murillo are probably better than all our centre backs, bar Fofana. But Fofana, again, you can't rely on him to stay fit. Guys, there's over 50 in the building. There's only 16 likes. You need to smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new around here as well. But guys, let's get these likes up. Over 50 in the building, only 16 likes. Come on, people. We're better than this, and it does really help me out. So please do that. Little thumbs up. Take you seconds to press it. Please do, guys. We have too many wingers of the youngsters coming in. Yeah, but wingers are going to leave this summer for sure. Yep, Gyökeres is great. I agree. We're going to move on to strikers very shortly, guys. Guehi would be my choice. Yeah, he'd probably be my choice as well. I mean, ideally, I'd like us to get two centre-backs. I'd be happy to get Guehi and Huijsen. I think that would be good. But again, that depends on exits. I think we can all admit that Disasi will be going. I think it's likely that Chalobah goes. I think it's likely that Badiashile probably goes. Maybe Tosin might go. Anselmino's going on loan. Look, there's a potential for 4 or 5 centre-backs to leave the club this summer. There is the potential for 4 or 5 centre-backs to leave the club this summer. Look, Achimpong's good. Don't get me wrong, but I see him as more of a right back than a centre back. And with Reece James and Malo Gusto in situ, you know, it's going to be very difficult for Gusto to get a run. For Achimpong to get a run at right back. I mean, yeah, sure, we can, but it absolutely, I don't consider us to be anywhere near the favourites or in the race for him. So, yeah, we look at the defence, guys, and we all know we're crying out for a leader. We all know that we need an experienced head for these younger guys to learn from. And it's going to be interesting to see what target we go with. Now, David Ornstein also added that Chelsea, there was, when we had the news about Van Dijk as well, people were like, myself included, I'm a little bit unsure about that. I'm not really sure if that was the case or not. But Ornstein did confirm that Chelsea did look at Van Dijk. Let me just bring this up now. So, again, myself, I doubted it, but now Ornstein has said it as well, that there was interest from Chelsea in Van Dijk if he was to become a free agent. That shows there is no rule on signing only signing over 23 players at Stamford Bridge, like some have suggested. I think I mean under 23 players, not over 23 players. Look, I think it's clear, right, that, and there's no evidence right now, and it's a big if, but I think Chelsea, if, and a big if, as I said, the right player was available for the right deal in the club's eyes, that they would make exceptions to this rule. The problem is that they're not really going to get the deals they want for the players that are going to move us forward. That's the situation, guys. That is the situation that we are currently in. That is the situation we're currently in, people. Now, does this mean that that means that Chelsea are prepared to sign older players? I think Chelsea would sign older players if the right deal presents itself. The problem is we're going to find it very hard to convince players to join when we're not going to offer more money than other clubs, and we're unlikely to be able to offer Champions League football. That's where the difficulties are going to arise is when the strength of the sporting project is no good. You know, we're going to struggle to convince players to join based on the sporting project. You know, based on the sporting project is not really got much pull right now. The sporting project has not got much pull. It's in the bin, really. What we're relying on here is Premier League football, London lifestyle. Those are all the things that we are relying on. And so that gets harder and harder. When you're shopping from smaller clubs, no problem. You know, you'll be able to convince players to join. But when you're looking for the needle moves, when you're looking for the top 1%ers in the big positions on the pitch, the way that we're operating, we're going to very much struggle to attract this caliber of player. So right now, for me, if Chelsea are only signing one centre-back this summer, for me, I think the most obvious choice is Marc Guéhi. That is where I see Chelsea going this summer with the centre-back scenario. I think the most likely situation is Marc Guéhi. No, look, it's the sort of thing we've done in the past, you know, Thiago Silva signing. But again, when you see Van Dijk signing a 400k a week contract, it's sort of thinking, well, okay, let's say he did leave as a free agent. Chelsea are not going to offer him more than 200k a week. Or at best, or the maximum, they'd offer him parity with James at 250. Would Van Dijk take 150k a week pay cut to come and play for Chelsea? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Bro, unfortunately, we're not what we used to be. So we do need to convince players to join Chelsea. Because right now, no Champions League football. We're not competing for major trophies. And other clubs are a far bigger draw than us. So, yeah, we do need to convince players. Yes, some players will just want to join the club and that's fine. But we will need to convince players. That's the reality. No, I think there's a high chance that Guéhi does come back. I believe that there's a decent chance that Marc Guéhi will come back. I think there's a high chance. I would say Guéhi's got leadership capabilities. He's Crystal Palace captain. You know, I think he absolutely has got leadership capabilities. No doubt about it. Guéhi makes financial sense as well. The wages will be quite big, but I think Guéhi would fit into the wage structure at Chelsea. I think there's a feeling that he wants to come back to the club. So that's kind of a deal that makes the most sense. And that for me is a deal that would be seemingly quite easy to get done. You know, if Chelsea are looking to get rid of Chalobah as well, we know that Chalobah was on loan at Palace. There could be some sort of scenario there as well. So these are all things that we need to take into consideration. So yeah. Oh, bro, Murillo would be great, but it's not happening. Look at Newcastle and Villa squads against ours. I know who I'll be backing. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I said as soon as the January window closed, Chelsea Football Club are not finishing in the top 5 because we weakened the squad. And so far, yes, we're only a point outside it. We're not getting the points that we need. We're simply not. Yeah, I mean, he's working part-time at the academy right now. But yeah, I hear you. It would be great to get JT back in the mix. No doubt about it. We need a Terry Cahill type Who's that in the Prem? Yeah, there's not many of them. There's not many. Fair enough. The Mongs. I mean, I wouldn't say I was praying, but yeah. Look, Gurhey for me would be a good choice. I'd be happy with that signing. But moving away from defenders, guys, the big questions that we're talking about here. Bro, you say better alternatives. All right, look at a Dean Huijsen, look at a Murillo, look at a Jarell Hatto, you know, these kind of guys. For what Chelsea are looking for, Gurhey ticks more boxes than any of the other players do, purely based on a leadership and experience standpoint. That's what we want. What I would say about Dean Huijsen, right? I like him, top talent. But at the end of the day, right, we've already got Mamadou Sarr coming from Strasbourg, 19 years old. We agreed to sign him in January. What's the plan for him? Why would you then go and sign another centre-back of the same age and spend 50 million quid on him? What's the plan here? It's obvious what's missing, and it's not another young, up-and-coming centre-back. That's not what's missing here. That is absolutely not what's missing here. I don't think we are. No one credible or reputable has mentioned Chelsea and Koundé. There's been nothing from Fabrizio, nothing from Ornstein, and nothing from sort of other credible journalists. So, yeah, I think that's different. That's different for me. But moving on to strikers, because the striker options that have been mentioned here are quite interesting. Because there is no mention of Victor Gyökeres. None. Now, this doesn't mean that Chelsea is not interested or whatever. However, Chelsea's top target for the summer window is a striker, as I've said. Chelsea are looking at names such as Liam Delap, Benjamin Sesko, and Hugo Ekitike. Nah, bro, Gurhey is better than Chalobah. He is. You know, let's not be silly here. Gurhey is better than Chalobah. I like Chalobah, but Gurhey for sure is better. Now, this won't be the only targets, guys. These won't be the only names, but I imagine because Ornstein's mentioned them, they're probably names that are high up the list. We know about Delap, we know about Sesko, and then Ekitike. I mean, the Frankfurt either director or chairman or whatever he is, saying that they want 100 million euros for Ekitike. 86 million quid. The geezer joined from PSG last summer. He's got 21 goals this season. He's 22 years of age, but 100 million euros. 100 million euros is mental. Sesko, we know the release clause is in there, although it's a fluctuating release clause. You know, I think it's going to be about 60. It's going to be about 60 million euros, maybe 70 million euros at a push. A similar price for Victor Gyökeres as well. Similar price. And Delap, we know about 30 million quid. That makes the most financial sense. There's no doubt about it that Liam Delap makes the most financial sense. Sorry. Ekitike is an interesting one because, but he's a similar. He's a similar profile to Jackson. He's a similar profile to Jackson. So I'm not sure if that's the right way to do it. You know, I'm not sure. I'm just not sure if that's the right profile to be going for. You know, Ekitike's done well, but you're going to spend 100 million euros on a guy who's had one good season. Is that what we're doing here? You know, at least with Delap, right? And you don't have to like Delap and you don't have to rate Delap. But at least with Delap, you can say that that's a calculated risk. £30 million won't be on massive wages. And, he would have had a season's experience in the Premier League. That's the sort of signing where I can get behind and I can say, do you know what? That's a gamble. That's a risk worth taking. That's a calculated gamble, a calculated risk. I know it didn't work out, but Lukaku was a calculated risk as well. You could understand why I went for him and it was worth going for him. Obviously, it didn't work out. But Delap, £30 million, the wages and whatnot, the potential upside, signing Delap's worth the risk. But the problem is that Delap shouldn't be the only centre-forward signing this summer. That's the issue. Now, the thing is, though, we've got to be careful here because we don't want to turn our noses up at certain players because then they're perhaps not a fashionable name or not playing for a big team. But I look at those names there and I just think it's very underwhelming. It is underwhelming. There's no denying it. I would love there to be an Osimhen on there or a Gyökeres on there or whatever it might be. Whatever it might be. But yeah, it's just a bit of a shame, isn't it, guys? It is a little bit of a shame right now. It just feels underwhelming. It's like any of those three, they do improve the squad. It gives us another option. It makes the squad better, but it doesn't. For me, it's not really raising the level, and it's not really making Chelsea that much better than they need to be. That's my issue here, guys. I've said it all along. We need 3 centre forwards. So you got Jackson. You need to sign 2. Jackson, Delap, and 1 more. Whether it's Jackson, Delap, and Gyökeres, Jackson, Delap, and Osimhen, whatever it might be. You need 3 centre forwards. Shocking names on the list. We should be going for Gyökeres or Osimhen. Osimhen, I don't think we could. We're not prepared to pay the wages that he wants. I think that's become very apparent. Gyökeres probably prefers a move to an Arsenal or a Liverpool, and you can't blame him for that. You cannot blame him for that. He will prefer a move. He will prefer a move elsewhere. Everything's underwhelming. No, fair enough. I hear that. Bro, it's not about transfer fees. Transfer fees are not an issue under this ownership. It's the wages and the salary where the issues come. Affording Osimhen from a transfer fee perspective was never an issue. It's the money we're looking to pay him, which is the issue. The money that we're looking to pay him, that is the issue. And that's why the deal never happened last summer, because he wasn't prepared to budge and we weren't prepared to budge. What about Mark Guiu? Still injured, but yeah, look, I'd expect him to go on loan personally. I think he'll go on loan. Yeah, that's what I expect to happen with him. We're going for Delap. No player above 25 years of age is our policy. Look, it's the policy in the main, and it's a big if, but if the right deal comes along for the right player, Chelsea would go for older. Would go for older. But yeah, I understand why people would think that, and I myself think that as well. Maybe. I'm not sure. People say a lot about Guiu, and there's clearly ability there and there's clearly talent there. He needs to go on loan somewhere, and it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, right? If Chelsea signed Delap and it's kind of part of that deal, Guiu goes on a championship loan to Ipswich next season. That could be very, very good for his development. Now, you could probably say that he would warrant a Premier League loan, But I think it'd be more beneficial to go on loan to a top championship club than it would be to go on loan to a team that's probably going to get relegated from the Premier League. I mean, I don't know what level of loan we're looking at for Mark Guiu at the moment. What about Boniface? A good player? Yeah, look, Victor Boniface is a good player. He was all set to join Al Nassr before they opted to go for John Duran instead. I think Boniface would be available at the right price this summer. It's clear that that Leverkusen would be prepared to let him go. There's not really been any links with Chelsea and Boniface. That's the thing. You know, there are strikers out there that can do a job for us. 100%. 100% there are. Of course there are. Guys, we're 10 likes from 50. Keep smashing that like button. It's free. It takes seconds to do so. And it really helps me out, gets more eyes on the content. So let's keep running these likes up. Let's get it to 50 likes, guys. That should be a bare minimum. So yeah, run it up, people. And of course, subscribe as we head towards the next target, which is 17K, guys. So get subscribing. The players we're linked to, they're all under 25. Gurhi, Huijsen, Delap, Ekitike, Sesko, Murillo, Garnacho. Yeah, but look, under 25 is not that much of an issue. It's when they're like all under 21, 22, where it becomes more of an issue. Yeah, maybe. No, I wouldn't say it's impossible to turn round, but it does require some quite drastic action. That's what it requires. It requires some quite drastic action that I don't know if this ownership are prepared to take to correct the course that we're currently heading down. That's the issue for me here. Are we prepared to take the action that's required? I'm not sure we are. I'm not sure we're prepared to take that action. And that's the thing. That's the thing, and that is the issue, guys. Would we take the action? I don't think we will. Might we go back in for Samu? Maybe we might do it, but again, it's gone very quiet on the Samu front as well. So yeah, it's really hard to tell. It is really hard to tell, guys. But I think what we're going to have to, what it seemingly looks like, and things can change in football very quickly. But right now, for me, we're going to end up with a Delap, a Sesko, or an Ekitike. That's what we're looking at, guys. I think we can forget about an Osimhen. We can forget about a Gyökeres. This is kind of the caliber of striker we're going to go through. And it really worries me when we go into next season and I think Jackson and Delap, Jackson and Sesko, Jackson and Ekitike. That's not a pool of strikers that's going to move you forward and propel you to challenge for major trophies. It just isn't. It just isn't. Well, certainly not straight away anyway. I think Delap could become a very good striker, by the way, and I like Delap, but this idea that he comes in and improves Chelsea straight away is not true. You know, he won't be starting every week. He won't start ahead of Jackson all the time. He'll be an alternative option. And what we need right now are big improvements to the first team so that some of these players that are first team regulars become what they are, which are squad players at best. That's the situation here. That is the situation here. What about Jonathan David? West Ham, I think, are more favourites for David than Chelsea are. David's definitely someone that's been mentioned in the past, someone who's been looked at. So, yeah, we see. But I think it's unlikely he goes there. Very unlikely he goes there, in my opinion. So, yeah, the striker situation is not looking ideal, guys. It's not looking ideal. I don't know. It depends how he finishes the season. I know he has improved. He has improved recently, but yeah, I'm just not. I don't know. I'm not fully on board. I'm not fully on board with Sancho. Like, I like him and I don't think he's horrendous, but if he's happy to be a squad player, then yeah, potentially. But if we can get someone better, I would be up for sending him back. I really would be. Yeah, but I don't think we're looking at wages outside of Chelsea's wage structure. I don't think that's what I don't think that's what we'd be looking at here. Absolutely not. But yeah, again, he's one that you'd look at, opportunistic, maybe smart business, all the sort of things that Chelsea are looking to do in the transfer market. David would tick some of those boxes. You can forget about us achieving anything under these clowns with a brain dead model and wage cap and level of managers. Yes, men they hire. We're finished. Fair enough. A lot of these guys' egos are too big to sit on the bench. No, but they wouldn't need to be. They wouldn't be a Jackson understudy. It would be an alternative option. It's not like, oh, we're bringing Jackson's the main man and we're bringing someone in to be an understudy. We're bringing someone in to compete with him and to bench him as well at certain points. So we need to move away from this idea. We can't bring someone in because they're going to bench Jackson, or that's not the mentality that we should be having. So yeah, that's where we are with the strikers. It's very disappointing not to see Victor Gyökeres linked strongly. It's very, very disappointing. But and this is where we're at right now. This is the caliber of player we go for. I would just find it ridiculous if we spend 100 million euros on Ekitike. It would just be mental. It would be absolutely mental, and we would fully be having our pants pulled down. Fully. But moving away from the centre forwards, guys. Oh, City have scored a late goal. Fucking Everton, you pricks. Wingers. Let me find the Chelsea winger targets. Again, just really uninspiring and underwhelming. Chelsea are looking at the wing position too. Williams, Gittins, Garnacho, among a number of options. So there'll be other options outside these. The fact that you're still seeing Garnacho's name on there is hugely concerning, guys. Hugely concerning that we are still seeing Garnacho's name being mentioned. Nico O'Reilly scoring again. Another player that Chelsea did ironically look at and tried to get in January. Fuck's sake. Fuck's sake. Typical. They just found a way to ground it out. The thing is, Gittins is what, 20, 21? Look, he's had a reasonably productive season. Nothing exceptional. But again, for the money that Gittins might cost, 50, 60 million euros they're talking about, is another 20-year-old winger, is that what we need? We've got Esteval, we've got Quenda coming. Like, is this what we're looking? Is this what we need, guys? Is this what we need? Is this what we were looking for? I look at those and I just think, look, I like Nico Williams, but I don't understand why Nico Williams keeps getting mentioned. Because surely there's no way we're paying the wages that he's on. And yet we still seem to be getting spoken about in the conversations for Nico Williams. And quite considerably as well. Quite considerably been being spoken about in conversations for Nico Williams. It's twice now Ornstein's mentioned Chelsea with Nico Williams. And I don't understand. I don't understand at all. It's a real baffling one. It's a real baffling one. Again, Mbeumo scored 18 Premier League goals this season. You know, I think he scored twice this afternoon against Brighton. You know, it's pretty good going. And Mbeumo's a very good player. He's going to make a very good he's going to make a very good signing for someone. A very good signing for someone. So we will wait and see. We will absolutely wait and see. %100%. But those names are just very, very uninspiring. Very uninspiring. Everyone keeps mentioning play Nico Jackson on the left. I just don't think the manager. I just don't think the manager looks at it like that. I just do not think the manager looks at it like that, guys. I don't. We do. I don't think so. We've got Andre Santos coming back. Well, the last thing we need is more midfielders, guys. We don't need more midfielders. Yeah, Everton have let us down there. They've got about 10 minutes to maybe try and redeem themselves. They have got about 10 minutes to try and redeem themselves. We'd be 7th in the Premier League by the end of the day. Well, we probably will be. Let's be honest here. The reason why I want Garnacho at Chelsea is every United player who leaves them to go to the next level. Well, I don't think Sancho's really gone to the next level. Well, bro, he's going to be here next season. Surely Williams and Gittins are an upgrade on what we have. I don't really know, to be honest. In the future, they could be, but Gittins, I don't think Gittins is a considerable upgrade. Is a considerable upgrade on anything we have right now. I don't see that. I don't see that being the case. You know, I just don't see him coming because of the wages. So this is a situation, guys, where yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. And it's a bit of a weird one, if we're being honest here. Guys, we're on 50 likes now. Keep smashing that like button. Let's run it up, people. Run it up. And subscribe as well, people. I would really appreciate it if you lot would hit that subscribe button. It would massively help me out. So please do that, guys. I think we should get Osimhen, Leao, Hato, and Gurhi. Bro, Leao, there's no interest in Leao. And then Osimhen, depends. With Osimhen, it's simple as, are we prepared to pay his salary? If we are, I think we can do a deal. If not, then there's no deal. There's no deal to be done. I think that's kind of where we're at and what we're looking at right now with this. There's no deal to be done unless we're prepared to offer the salary. So we will wait and see. We will wait and see. Now, I think that's pretty harsh. I think that's very harsh. I do strongly disagree on that. But yeah, those wide players are just underwhelming in my opinion. Thoroughly underwhelming. So yeah. It is what it is. Let's see what happens in the wide areas. But, you know, we know there's interest in Madueke. Chelsea will decide what to do with Sancho. Mudryk, we're still waiting to see what happens. And yeah, there's players that need to move on. Players that need to be moved on. You know, it's that simple. Yeah, no, we're finished, bro. We were finished anyway. We were finished anyway. Even right, but this is the thing, though, guys. Even if City had dropped points today, why are we celebrating as if we would take advantage of them dropping points and get a win against Fulham? Well, why do we think that would have happened? That was never going to be the case, bro. Top five's done and dusted now. Top five was done and dusted when we didn't beat Ipswich. It was finitoed then. Bro, this is the thing, though. None of our wingers are chipping in with 10 assists. None of them are. Zilch wingers are chipping in with that many assists. They're just not. And that in itself, is problematic for us, guys. But yeah, anyway, let's move away from transfer stuff. That's the situation that we are in right now. And let me oh, of course it wasn't. It was fucking Kovacic that scored. City are going to finish top five. They are. They really are. City are going to finish top five, guys. %100%. So yeah, there we go. All bullshit. But let's move on to how Chelsea are feeling about Enzo Maresca, because there's a lot of speculation about Maresca. A lot of fans don't want Maresca. They want him gone. So let's get into that. Ugochukwu scored, has he? We'd be better off playing wing backs. Cucurella and James would do better than our wingers. Maybe. I mean, at this point in time, we'd be better off playing fucking Cucurella as a striker. That's what we'd be better off doing. But yeah, anyway, back to what I was saying about Enzo Maresca and how Chelsea are feeling about him. So this is Ornstein. I wouldn't expect Maresca to be evaluated until closer to the end of his second year at Chelsea. They want to work with him. He has a close working relationship with the sporting hierarchy and is involved in decision. Maresca is actually also admired by other clubs. So, again, this is the information that's coming out. Is that Chelsea, they believe in Maresca, they like Maresca, they're going to stick with Maresca. Fabrizio Romano has reported as well earlier today that he's not getting any messages from anyone suggesting that Chelsea are thinking about making a change. You know, but they're thinking about making a change. He said he's not receiving any messages like that. And all the information that's coming out there is that there's nothing to suggest that Chelsea are going to think about making a change. So I get it, guys. A lot of you don't like the manager. A lot of you don't think he's good enough. Yes, he needs to do better with certain things. Of course he does. But at the end of the day, guys, I said this the other day I said it yesterday in the studio. At some point, we can't keep sacking managers. At some point, we need to back a manager and have a manager for more than one season. That needs to happen, guys, at some point. That has to happen at some point. And on the balance of things, I think he probably does deserve one more season. But if you keep him, you must back him in the summer. You have to. You simply have to. You simply have to. So if you keep him, you need to give him a top quality striker. You need to give him a top quality centre back, and you need to bring in a goal scoring winger. You need to do all these things. You must. You must do all these things. You have to. You absolutely have to. You must. You must. Because otherwise, it's a complete waste of time keeping the manager if you don't back him. If you don't back him, complete waste of time. Oh, we don't know this. We don't know this. The season's been disappointing. The season's been underwhelming. No doubt about it. But the reality is, guys, is that if Maresca had been given a top quality striker in the summer, we'd be having a totally different conversation at this point of the season, because I think we would be in the Champions League places. We would have a gap to 6th place. Not signing a striker has cost us big time. Not signing a striker has cost us big time. Now, that doesn't mean that doesn't excuse Maresca for not getting more out of these players and for us being shit for 4 months and him showing no signs of making any sort of improvement whatsoever. But you can also put it on the flip side and say, if you'd given him a striker like you should have done, we'd be having a different conversation. Yeah, quite possibly. Quite possibly. What's your dream? Look, I'd love to get Gyökeres. I'd love to get someone like Ademola Lookman and a centre-back. I mean, realistically, I wouldn't mind a Gurhi, to be honest. I really wouldn't. Or a Bastoni. I know dream, I'd say Bastoni. At one point in this season, even rivals got scared. We were playing good football and winning games, scoring goals. Bro, attack wins you games, but defense wins you titles. That's the reality. You have to be exceptional at both ends of the pitch. And we're not. We're just simply not. You've got to be ruthless in attack, and you've got to be rock solid at the back. And we're neither of those things. So whilst an attack will win you games, it's the defense that wins you titles. Yeah, look, we need a striker with a box presence, with an aerial threat. We know this, but ultimately, we've known this for a number of years now. We've known this for a number of years now. So, yeah. So we can say that recruitment's let him down. Of course he's been let down by the recruitment. Well, mate, yeah. Let's see. I mean, if Villa win tonight, then yeah, that's a distinct possibility. A distinct possibility. Guys, we're 84 in the building. Let's get this up to 70 likes if we can. It's 12 more likes to 70. So please do smash that like button. And of course, guys, keep subscribing as well. Make sure you are smashing the subscribe button. It is free, guys. Free. So yeah, I would really appreciate it if you would do that, people. It would massively help me out. But it's not excuses, though. It's reality. The reality is that if he'd been given the tools that he should have been given, we'd be in a different position. Obviously, we're not in that situation. And he has not got enough out of this group over the second half of the season. And yeah, he's got to take a big responsibility for that. The players have got to take a big responsibility for that, for putting in shit levels of performance. You know, that's the situation right now. But ultimately, guys, there's a high chance that, and it's very likely that Maresca will be here next season. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. And we need to give him, we need to give him the players. We need to provide the players, and the squad's got to be put together, a complete squad. Only then really can we give a full valuation. Only then can we give a full valuation, really. Look, it's been very mixed this season. First half of the season, great. Second half of the season, shocking. It's been a season or two halves, yeah. That's exactly what it's been. You know, and maybe we could find ourselves in a situation, guys, where that final Champions League spot could come down to Chelsea versus Forest on the final day of the season. Could come down to Chelsea versus Forest final day of the season. But we do very, very well to be in that position. Very, very well. Very, very well. We do very well to be in that position, guys. Oh, loads of players are mentally checked out. You know, that's not a ridiculous thing to say at all. A number of players have mentally checked out. There's no denying that. There's no denying that, guys. Yeah, this is Chelsea merch, but it's from the good old days with Trivago, the real ones who stood by us. Yeah, this was a training top from last season or a couple seasons ago. Yeah, but Chelsea merch, yeah. I don't. You can't buy this now. We're certainly not in a mega store anyway. I don't know where you'd buy it from. Well, as long as we win the Conference League, win the Europa League next season, that's the key thing here. That's the key thing here. Yeah, you might find out a vintage. You might well do. Maybe. I mean, we can't sack the ownership, but I hear what you're saying. I do hear what you're saying, but yes, it's not going to be possible to sack the ownership. But yeah, I was going to bring something up. What was I going to bring up? Oh yes, this. From Pice. Now, again, I don't know how true this is, but there's good reason to believe that there is at least some truth in it for sure. So quite a lot to dive into here. Some players are unhappy with the roles they are playing on the pitch. James, Gusto, and Nkunku are some of them. Not a surprise at all to hear that. James, Sanchez, Tosin, and Chalobah trying to fill the leadership gap behind the scenes. Not really surprising there either. Tosin and Sanchez, the two oldest in the squad. Chalobah's been here for a long time. Kind of makes sense. Some players like Jackson think the fans aren't helping. Fair enough. And I think to a certain extent, he probably is right. He probably is right. Then we've got Maresca's not currently under threat, but there have been eyebrows raised about his usage of the squad. I think that's totally fair because his usage of the squad has been shit. You know, his usage of the squad has been poor. I don't think there's any denying that. I don't think there's any denying that his usage of the squad has been gash. That's true. Huijsen is being pushed for. Chelsea see him as a generational young talent. Agent fee and playing time important in potential pitch. Mate, we're paying so much for agent fees. We tops the table for agent fees. Ekitike's agent was in touch with Chelsea and other clubs. Contact has been made with the Laps camp. So there's obviously a number of little issues that are simmering away behind the scenes. There's obviously a number of issues here that are simmering away. Little simmer, you know, that's what we've got going on here. I'm not surprised that probably 10 more minutes, I'd say. Probably 10 more minutes, I reckon. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that James, who's probably pissed off playing in midfield, even if he says he's not. Gusto, who the system just doesn't suit, and he's obviously not happy with that role. And it's quite clear that Nkunku's not happy with the situation that he's in either. So yeah, this is absolutely. I can absolutely see all those things, or the majority of those things, being true. The majority of those things being true. And this is a problem, guys. This is a problem. Because, yeah, Maresca's use of the squad's been poor. I've not understood recent team selections. Brentford team selection I didn't get. The team selection for the second leg against Legia Warsaw, I understood it to a slight degree, but that was also very, very confusing. You know, very, very confusing. Not a lot of it made very much sense at all. Yeah, we will. We absolutely will, because we're going to need to get more players in for that Club World Cup. We're going to need to get more players in for the Club World Cup. Tuchel literally scoffed when told Maresca plays Reece James as a midfielder. We all know that Reece James is not a midfielder. But Huijsen, I don't see Dean Huijsen as a generational talent. I'm not seeing it. I think a very, very good young defender with lots of potential, but generational's a bit steep, isn't it? No, is that just me? Is that just me? I think generational is a bit steep to be calling Huijsen generational talent. I think that's a bit steep, guys. I have to be honest. I think that's a bit steep. Maresca, where are we going to get? When are we going to? He's not going to go because the SD is harder manager. So SD out. Yeah, the directors need to go first. I don't know if Branthwaite is probably maybe currently better, but Huijsen I think has got the potential to be considerably better. That is how I would. That's how I would see it. No, Trent doesn't really play in midfield much anymore. And that was only because he's so good on the ball. They tried it there as an experiment. But these things here are a concern because the way that we play right now basically makes James and Gusto void on the pitch. You know, it doesn't get the best out of them. It doesn't play to their strengths. And it makes it pretty pointless them being on the football pitch. That's what it does, guys. And it's not suiting them. It is not suiting them at all. It doesn't suit them at all, guys. So there we are. It looks like there could be a few issues potentially bubbling away behind the scenes. And that is not ideal, guys. Not ideal whatsoever. Not ideal at all. But hey, this is Chelsea, and we should be used to that by now. We should be used to that. These sorts of things are always going to come out when things aren't going well. I wouldn't say he's not good, but it's perhaps not really the caliber we should be looking at. Um, you know, not really the caliber we should be looking at. Look, I haven't got an issue with not. Look, 400k a week is a ridiculous amount of money. Would I want us to offer Van Dijk a 2-year deal at 400k a week? I don't know. I don't really know, to be honest. No, what I've said is that I don't think I don't trust these directors to pick another manager that's going to be any better. So I would keep Maresca for continuity purposes, and I would also keep him because I think he's just about shown enough to warrant another season. And secondly, I do not for 1 second trust these directors to appoint a manager who's going to be better than what we've currently got. And they don't deserve the chance to appoint a fourth manager. They don't deserve that opportunity. So, for those reasons, the only way I'm Maresca out is if we don't win the Conference League and finish outside of any European football, or if it means the directors go as well. That's the only way. That's the only way I'm out. That's the only way I'm out. That for me is the only way I'd be the gaffer out. Which at this stage, I think those scenarios are quite unlikely. And look, we can't. There's not really any trust in any of the right decisions to be made, is there, guys? This is what we're talking about here. There's no real trust to get any of the decisions right. People, we're 5 likes away from 70. Let's run it up. Let's run it up. Get this to 70 likes, guys. Come on, smash that like button. It would be really helpful to me, and I would greatly appreciate it. So make sure you are doing that. You suggest wait and give the manager the tools. Decent manager can adapt. Conte after losing 3-0 change. Yes, but we also had very different players then and a much, much better squad. You know, sure, you could say, oh, let's change the system. But ultimately, we haven't got the players. I agree that he needs to find a different way. And he has been very stubborn in his ways. Absolutely. But it's like with Amorim. Amorim stuck to his guns and stuck to his principles. No, not with everything. I disagree with a lot of what Lewis says. But I also agree with some of the things, you know. And for me, I can't remember what his views are on this, but for me, I think I imagine that we have pretty similar views when it comes to this. I mean, you know, I don't think it's that big a deal, to be honest. I mean, I don't blame him. It was a shit, wasn't it? You know, it was awful. Let's be real here. I don't think Amorim's poor, but again, he's not got the tools. He's not got the tools. I think it's almost better for Newcastle to win. Let them go, and then it's just 3 teams for one place: City, Forest, Villa, and Chelsea for 4th and 5th. That's how I would see it. Yeah, O'Reilly's doing really well. He's doing really well. I mean, Chelsea tried to get him in January, and it didn't happen. But yeah, O'Reilly is doing the business. O'Reilly's doing the business. So we'll wait and see. But yeah, for me, I'd rather a Newcastle win because it keeps Villa below us, and you know it's better to have just one space available and having less teams going for it. If that makes sense, you don't want it all concertinaed up. So if it's one team to win, I would rather Villa wins. Sorry, rather Newcastle win. Sorry, guys. But yeah, these are the issues that are at stake right now, guys. There are a number of issues. There are a number of things that need to change, and there's a number of things that, you know, I look at tomorrow and I just think, fuck me, like it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle to beat Fulham. I'm not saying we can't do it. I just haven't got any evidence to say that I think we're going to. I can't. I can't base it on anything. There's nothing I'm basing that I'm looking at and thinking, yeah, we've got a chance here, other than just blind faith. Blind faith. That's what we're looking at right now. Just blind faith that we might do it. You know, I don't know if we'll get. I don't think we'll get battered, but yeah, it could be. It could be a bit peak. I can't lie. It really could be, guys. I mean, yeah, if we lose tomorrow, it's not going to be. It's not going to be a good atmosphere, guys. It's not going to be good amongst the fan base. It's going to be, yeah, it's not really worth thinking about what it's going to be like. We just got to somehow hope and pray that we can pull a result out of the bag from somewhere. But we've not looked like pulling a result out of the bag from anywhere. We've not looked like pulling a result out of the bag from anywhere. So, yeah. There we go. There we go. Oh, dear. Nice thoughts out of that game. But this is it. Unless anything changes, we're just going to see the same thing we've consistently seen. You know, that's it, guys. We're just going to see the same shit that we've been watching time and time again. So, yeah, I haven't really got any faith that that we're going to see anything different. Zero faith we're going to see anything different, guys. Zero faith. Fuck's sake. Yeah, not ideal. Not ideal whatsoever. But yeah, guys, I'm going to round this one out here. Big up to everyone that's tuned in. Please smash that like button on the way out, guys. It's free. It takes seconds. We're on 71 likes. Let's get this to 80 likes on the way out. So smash the like button if you haven't done so already. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Make sure you stay locked in for more content coming tomorrow. Match day content, Fulham, all that stuff. Make sure you stay locked into the channel, guys. Appreciate all the love, all the support from everyone. Big up to the chat. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Let's hope for a Newcastle win. Up the Chelsea, and we're out. Peace.